Here we're going to use the graph of f of x equals log base 3 of x to sketch the graph of each function. I want you to make sure to state the domain, range, and asymptote of each graph. So the first thing I'm going to do is focus in on f of x, which is y equals log base 3 of x. Remember, I could rewrite this in exponential form, which tells us that 3 to the y equals x. So if I'm making my table of values, I'm going to plug in y values to find my x values. Because x equals 3 to the y, so my y value will help us figure that out. Plugging in my favorite 5 numbers, 3 to the negative 2 is 1/9. 3 to the negative 1 is 1/3. 3 to the 0 is 1. 3 to the first is 3, and 3 squared is 9. So remember, this is our x-intercept. Just keep a note of that. So our logarithmic function is always going to have a vertical asymptote of x equals 0. And remember, that's because 3 to the y cannot equal 0. And after I sketch it, I'll say my domain and range. So here's my vertical asymptote. That is x equals 0. And I'm going to go from the bottom up. So I have 9, 2 here, 3, 1 here, my x-intercept at 1, 0, and then 1/3, negative 1, about here, right? These last two really don't have to be perfect because they're just getting really close to that vertical asymptote. So this is my graph f of x, and I can see it has a domain of 0 to infinity and a range of negative infinity to infinity. Now I can focus in on g of x, which I'm going to rewrite as g of x equals log base 3 of x minus 1. Now this minus 1 on the end tells us we're going to shift log base 3 of x down 1 unit. Okay, so think about that. If I shifted this down 1 unit, my vertical asymptote stays the same. It's going to be x equals 0 because shifting this vertical line up or down is not going to change it. But my other points that I plotted are all going to be shifted down 1. So this one is down 1, down 1, down 1. And then try your best to get these down 1. Those are not as important as the whole number transformations. And this is g of x. And we can see that the domain stays the same, 0 to infinity. And our range doesn't change either because we move down 1, negative infinity to infinity.